In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make this really fun tassel keyring, and we've used the swivel hook on the end so you can add it to any bag or any pouch or add it to your keys. We've made ours using leather, but you can use anything that doesn't fray as long as it's got a nice finished back to it. And you can add a bit of decoration around the top, a bit of added thread or ribbon or something nice just to bling it up a little bit. And that will look great hanging anywhere you like. These are so easy to make, so quick to make. They don't take any sewing skills at all. The only supplies you need are your square of leather, your swivel hook and a bit of glue, and whatever you want to embellish it with. These are great extra add-on gifts, stocking fillers, extra bit of feature if you're making a bag for somebody. And I don't know, I think they're great. So I'll show you how to make it. Dead simple. You'll almost feel cheated by this once you've seen. So we've got our square of leather, and I've used 5 inches by 5 inches, so I've got a perfect square. And then I've marked down from the top a 1/2 inch. That is 1.2 mil for anybody working in metric. And then on my left, I'll turn it around so it faces you. On my left, I've cut a 1/2 inch away from the edge up as far as that line at the top. So this 1/2 inch line at the top, we're not going to cut through that at all. That's going to stay completely intact. And then on this first side, it doesn't really matter which side you do, but I've done it this side so that I can remember which way to roll it up is all. So I've done a 1/2 inch. And then the rest of these are all 1/4 inch away from each other. But they're all still attached by that piece of leather at the top, that strip, that 1/2 inch strip at the top. So if you're working in metric, you'll want to leave a 1.2 centimetres, sorry, not millimetres, 1.2 centimetre gap at the top, 1.2 centimetres for your first one, and then 6 mil for the other ones. And the only reason we've used a 1/2 inch here is because that is the size of my ring. So if you've got a slightly larger or smaller ring, just adapt this first piece to match the size of the opening on your swivel hook. Okay, so we're using a 1/2 inch, so I've done a 1/2 inch here. Now the first step, I'll try and do this away from me so that you can see it, how it's going to look in front of you. First step is to take this thicker piece, this wider piece, and fold it up as far as that line at the top. Okay, so that it's protruding out from the top. Then slide your swivel hook on top as far as the top of your square of leather. And then we're going to fold that back down again. Just get hold of this so that I don't drop it. So we're going to fold it back down so that you've got your 1/2 inch going down like the rest of the tassel bits, and then up, add your hook, and then the other side is coming down on the right side of the leather. Okay, now I'm going to add a bit of glue onto the back of that. I'm just using Fabri-Tac. You can use any kind of strong multi-purpose glue. If you've got some specifically for leather, then that's great. That would be a good option as well. So when you fold that back down, just make sure that the edge of your ring is just right at the top of your panel, your leather panel. Now I feel a little bit like you might think this is dead simple, how did you not realize about this before? But all we're going to do, actually first, let's no, not first because I've forgotten to bring my scissors up. What we'll do later is I'll trim this extra bit of leather off. Okay, so if you've got your scissors, trim that off now. Let me double check I haven't left any in my drawer up here. No, that would be too simple, wouldn't it? Okay, so we trim that bit off, and then we are just simply going to either fold or roll the rest of this panel up Now if you fold it, then you'll get a slightly flatter looking tassel, and if you roll it, you'll get a nicely rounded looking tassel. So depending on what kind of look you want, or what kind of look you're going for, that's how you can do it. Now I haven't actually done this very straight, so let me go back and do it a bit straighter. The backing on my leather is a little bit fuzzy, a little bit furry, but it's it's come from a warehouse that makes, or a factory that makes designer bags, as in high-end designer bags. So I thought it was kind of worth it, even though it is a bit frayy. Figured it might make my bags look a little bit more designer, high-end. Okay, so all we're going to do once you've finished rolling it around is add a good dollop of glue to the back. When I say dollop, I mean sort of enough to hold it securely, but not enough that it's going to squirt out all over the place. And then give that a nice roll back around. Now if you've got excess glue squirting out, just wipe that off with a cloth or a scrap or something, and then all we're going to do is literally just hold this in place just for a couple of minutes until that secures, until that dries long enough. If you've got some particularly long quilting clips, you can use one of those just to hold it in place while that dries. And so it's almost like these quilting clips were designed for this exact feature, isn't it? It's holding it so nicely there. So all I'm going to do then, once I finish this, I'm just going to snip that longer bit off when I go downstairs. I mean, you could leave it. It just looks a bit odd, doesn't it, having that extra sort of long bit there. But that's it. That's all you need to do to make a tassel keyring. I'm gonna probably think about adding a nice bit of ribbon or some embroidery threads. Just do a few rounds of thread onto that just to give it a nice extra feature. If you've got some particularly long rivets that you think would go through that, you could punch a hole through there and add a rivet through all of those layers. Or if you're using something that's much thinner, or you're only doing a 3 or a 4 inch square, you could maybe consider adding a rivet through all of those layers. But for me, because that's quite thick and I know that it's good quality leather, I think I'm just going to wrap something around it just to give it a little bit of an extra feature. But that is how to make tassels for any project. You can add them to key rings, your car keys, your bags that you're making, any kind of pouches, any kind of projects. You can make them any different colour you like. You can trim them off. You can make these tassels any size you want, really. But I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope that you'll consider making one. Give it a go and see how you can add a little bit of extra embellishment to your handmade projects. Thanks for watching.